want to welcome everyone back to the Winning Response podcast. Today, we are in our series of Everyday Winners in Hebrews 11. And today, we are going to talk about the three Hebrew children in the fiery furnace. It's I really enjoy this story in the Bible. In Hebrews 11, 32 and 33, we've read this before, but it encompasses so many people in the stories in the Bible. And what more shall I say? I do not have time to tell about Gideon, Barak, Samson, and Jephthah, about David and Samuel and the prophets, who through faith conquered kingdoms, administered justice, and gained what was promised, who shut the mouths of lions, quenched the fury of the flames, and escaped the edge of the sword, whose weakness was turned to strength, and who became powerful in battle and routed foreign armies. So the three Hebrew children, now a couple times ago, we talked about Daniel, and these are Daniel's faithful friends that we're talking about today. And in Daniel, we looked at the first account when they were taken away to Babylon, Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and they were friends. They knew each other. They had all four had come from Jerusalem, taken captive. And so they were together. And this was the story where they wanted to eat different food than the rest were given. And they were found favor with the king in that time. And they were able to do that. And they stood together on what God had given them in his word to do. And, you and I were talking, and we've also been that for each other. A faithful friend in a situation that you find yourself in, that's a hard situation, or where you need somebody to back you up in a situation, is a powerful, powerful thing. And the Lord is so faithful to bring us a friend, someone who will help stand in the gap with us when we're believing him in situations.
Well, and to have one is a treasure. And here we see it's a group of four. And so you get four people who just love each other, who have each other's back, who genuinely want the best for each other.
There's times in my life that having a faithful friend, someone who's standing with you and encouraging you, is the difference between my winning or my losing in a situation. Those times when you can say, okay, remind me that I'm going to win in this situation. I need a reminder, because right now I'm not feeling like I am.
And people who believe in you, people who see things that are in you, that God has put in you, the gifts and the talents, and they encourage you, and their faith is there to draw them out. I mean, there's so many things that I've seen you, we'll take our friendship, for example, is that I've seen you blossom in. And your confidence and things, especially in the past couple of years, that I know you came to me several times and you're like, sister, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know what I'm doing, but I know that I'm supposed to do this. I know the Lord has told me to do this. And I've seen you step out in faith, of course, cheering you on. I don't know what you're talking about either, but I'm like, do it. Sounds good.
Yeah.
And the Lord show up and how much he has added to you. The wisdom, the ability, the excitement, because at first you weren't too excited. You're like, I don't even know. But you've done that for me too.
Well, and that goes both ways.
To have somebody in your corner who loves God, who loves you, who isn't jealous, who isn't envious, who wants to see you achieve all that God has put in your heart to do is a beautiful gift.
It is.
It's a beautiful gift.
Well, we've talked about David. We talked about David he was a man after God's own heart. Right. And it's a friend after God's heart, I believe. That kind of friend who is cheering you on. Whatever God's put in your heart, they are hooked with you and they're cheering for you. They're rooting for you. They want you to make it. And I believe these four men were that type of friend to one another.
Well, and in Daniel 2, we read this before in Daniel. We're not going to go over the whole account of everything from before, but in this account, we thought it was really important to read these again. So in Daniel 2, verses 17 and 18, it says, so Daniel went to his house. He explained the whole story to his friends, Hananiah, this is before their names are changed, Mishael, and Azariah. Daniel asked his friends to pray to the God of heaven that God would be kind to them and help them understand the secret. Then Daniel and his friends would not be killed with the other wise men of Babylon. And this is back when Daniel was asking God for wisdom to discern the dream. But he went back and he confided in his friends. He told them, hey, this is what's going on. I need you to pray with me. We need to go to God together. Daniel wasn't on a solo mission. He had his friends right there on the side. I can just like see it.
Me too.
You know, he's got his little
Yeah.
posse with him, his little crew. And they're going to God and they're saying, hey, God, we're asking you together for wisdom. And God honored him.
Mm-hmm.
He honored him and he gave Daniel that wisdom, and they were spared because of this. What a treasure it is to have somebody that you can go to. I know I had gone to you earlier this year about something the Lord had kind of put in my heart, and I hadn't shared really with anybody. And I didn't really want to talk about it. We've talked about that before too. When you're dealing with things and the Lord's showing you things, sometimes you don't need to go tell everybody and get everybody's opinion. You don't want everybody's opinion. But I had something that I was genuinely seeking God on and for his guidance and wisdom on. And I called you and told you, and man, it helped me so much. It was just like, what a relief to know that Jen's hooked with me. Of course, my husband, you know, of course, but to have a friend outside who loves you, who has your best interest at heart, it helped me so much more.
Well, it makes such a difference because you know that person loves you and they truly, genuinely want God's best for you.
Right.
There's no competition. There's no comparison.
Right.
That's a rare thing in life, and so thankful for it, because then you can with confidence talk to that person and know, okay, what they tell me isn't going to be self-serving.
Right.
They're about what's best for me.
Even if it's like the cold, hard truth. And it's like, ouch.
Yeah. We have to be willing to hear that too, right?
Maybe didn't want to hear that. But yeah, a true friend will give you truth. They'll tell you the truth. And when we were talking about this too, it reminds me of, I don't know exactly where it's located, but the story where the 4 friends, there was one of them who was sick. And these friends were like, we need to get him in to go see Jesus. Jesus can heal him. And so they're like, wait, how are we going to do this? We can't get in the front. It's too crowded. So these men picked up their sick friend on a mat, carried him to the top of the house, and dropped him through a roof.
Tore the roof apart,
lowered it down, however they did it, because they didn't have all the equipment and all the stuff that we do now. And lowered him down to get healed just because they loved him. They loved this friend. And to have 4, I call them the 4 crazy friends. I have it written in my Bible, 4 crazy friends with a few of the ones that I know would do that for me. And to have 1 is special, to have 2, to have 3. But here we have 4 friends who love God and love each other. It's a divine connection.
It's one of the greatest blessings from the Lord. And I want to encourage our listeners. There might be some people out there who say, well, that's great for you. I don't have a friend like that. Well, you know, God gives us the desire of our heart. And so get before him, ask him to bring you a friend like that. And the first step is to make sure that you are that kind of friend to others, so that, you know, are you an encouragement to others, or are you jealous? Are you praying for people when they come to you? You know, be that kind of friend, and the Lord will bring those people into your
and I'm
life.
going to add this in here too, because this is a biggie. A true friendship, any relationship really, when you think about God, when you think about you and your kid, any relationship, it's 2-way. When you're a good friend, you're not going to do all the talking. You're going to be there to listen to your friend. Yeah. It's a communication. It's 2-way. When you and I get together, it's not me sitting there for 2 hours listening to you talk. No. It's not you sitting there listening to me. It's us having a conversation and talking with each other. There's been times where I've gotten with people and you can't get a word in. They don't want to hear anything that there's been times where even the Lord would give me something to say and you can't even get a word in. And so that's part of being a good friend. And I'm thankful you've been a great
right back at you, sister.
So in this first point, we wanted to really reiterate what a good friendship is
Mhm.
and how valuable, because they were about to go through some literal fire with each other.
Yes, they were.
And having each other there, I think, was definitely an encouragement in this time.
Yes, for
So-
sure. They went through, like you said, the fire. And this part of their story, their King Nebuchadnezzar has built this gold statue. It's big, ornate, all the things, and he requires all of his leaders, all the men of wisdom, all the leaders, all the rulers under him to come to one place, and they are to bow down and worship this statue. They're going to play all this music, and then they're supposed to bow down. And in Daniel 3, we're going to start reading in verse 12. It says, these are some tattletalers. They notice that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego do not bow down.
I think we talked about tattletalers
Yeah,
in
we
Daniel,
have
didn't we?
before. Yeah. You don't want to be that, or you won't be considered a good friend. That's
Nobody
who you
wants
are.
a tattletale friend.
No. Well, they were seeking out to see who wasn't doing what they were supposed to do.
Right.
I mean, if we're busy taking care of ourselves, we don't have time to mess with that, right? That's another story. But in Daniel 3:12, we're going to start. It says, but there are some Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who pay no attention to you, your majesty. They neither serve your gods nor worship the image of gold you have set up. Furious with rage, Nebuchadnezzar summoned Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So these men were brought before the king, and Nebuchadnezzar said to them, is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the image of gold I have set up? Now, when you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music, if you are ready to fall down and worship the image I made, very good. But if you do not worship it, you will be thrown immediately into a blazing furnace. Then what God will be able to rescue you from my hand?
Okay, I just need to interrupt. I
Okay.
need to know what a zither is.
I don't know. Zither.
If any of our listeners,
Crystal wants to know. Email us. Get on the website. Email us.
if anybody knows what a zither
is. Zither.
I might need one of those in my life.
I don't know. That could be dangerous. It sounds like to me.
As long as it's not a recorder.
A recorder.
I remember my boys playing those. Oh, they were awful.
Yeah. So here they are. The music's played. The king is angry, and he says, okay, you have another opportunity. You can either bow down or I'm throwing you in the fire. And then he says something that he's going to regret saying. Then what God will be able to rescue you from my hand? God's set up right here. We'll start again in verse 16. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to him, King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar was furious with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and his attitude toward them changed. He ordered the furnace heated 7 times hotter than usual and commanded some of the strongest soldiers in his army to tie up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the blazing furnace. So these men, wearing the robes, trousers, turbans, and other clothes, were bound and thrown into the blazing furnace. The king's command was so urgent and the furnace was so hot that the flames of the fire killed the soldiers who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, firmly tied, fell into the blazing furnace. Then King Nebuchadnezzar leaped up to his feet in amazement and asked his advisors, weren't there 3 men that we tied up and threw into the fire? They replied, certainly, your majesty. He said, look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire, unbound and unharmed, and the 4th looks like a son of the gods.
We know who that was.
Yes, we do.
Jesus, our hero.
That's right.
And they're walking around with them.
Yeah. You know, some people I've heard them say, well, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were like, well, God can deliver us or God won't deliver us either way. That's not faith. We read in Hebrews 11:6 that without faith, it is impossible to please God because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he is a rewarder of those who earnestly seek him. They are saying that God can keep us from going into the fire, but he can also keep us even if you throw us into the fire. He will be with us in the fire or not. It's bold faith. Faith is bold. It's like, you know what? You can throw us in or not throw us in, but either way, we are not going to worship your idol because we only worship God. That's bold.
That is bold.
Bold faith. It reminds me of when we talked about Abraham being willing to sacrifice Isaac.
He just got up and did it.
Yeah, he just did it. And he believed that God could raise him from the dead if he needed to, but that he was going to keep Isaac however he saw.
Well, and in that too, you and I were talking about before this, God never says that we're not going to go through anything in this life. There's challenges and trials. There's some things that we can get ourselves into. Been there, done that. And then there's things that will happen just because you're in this world. We live in a fallen world. We live in a world where the enemy is God over this world and bad things happen. Is God the causer of storms? Is God the causer of death? And no, it says that the enemy, in John 10:10, it says the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Jesus said, I have come that you would have life and life more abundantly. And so there will be challenges. There will be trials. Everybody has had them. Not most. Everybody has had some kind of challenge or trial in their life. They all don't look the same, and some people might think, oh, well, their challenge isn't as hard as mine. Well, you don't know. You have no idea. You're not in their shoes. But God promised to be with us in the midst of it. And one of my favorite scriptures, Isaiah 43:2 says, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. When you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. Well, here is a living example of this happening. This is proof of what God's word said is true in Isaiah. They're living it. They're walking it out. And God, he was with them. Their bold faith, like you said, their bold faith caused them to win. And it caused God to respond in a bold way.
Yes. In John 16:33, it also says, these things I have spoken to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. That's Jesus. So he's overcome it all. And so that gives us the ability to have faith to believe that he will help us through every circumstance that we come up against every time. So let's finish the story.
Let's do it.
Because they're in the fire, but there's a fourth man now.
Here we go. As long as I don't have any funky names to read. Daniel 3:26-30. Then Nebuchadnezzar went to the opening of the hot furnace. He shouted, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, come out. Servants of the Most High God, come here. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out of the fire. When they came out, the satraps, prefects, governors, and royal advisors crowded around them. They could see that the fire had not burned Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Their bodies were not burned at all. Their hair was not burned, and their robes were not burned. They didn't even smell as if they had been near the fire. Then Nebuchadnezzar said, praise the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Their God has sent his angel and saved his servants from the fire. These three men trusted their God and refused to obey my command. They were willing to die instead of serving and worshiping any other God. So I now make this law. Anyone from any nation or language group who says anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego will be cut into pieces, and their house will be destroyed until it is a pile of dirt and ashes. No other God can save his people like this. Then the king gave Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego more important jobs in the province of Babylon.
Nebuchadnezzar really changed his tune.
Oh, he should.
Before they went in the fire, he said, then what God will be able to rescue you from my hand? And then servants of the Most High God is what he said. It changed the whole nation. This response we're going to see.
Well, and their response to God in faith, they responded in faith, caused God to respond to them, in turn caused the king to change his response. The whole thing. Their bold faith allowed God to show up in their situation, and they had to go through the fire. They were thrown in, but it didn't even hurt them. There was not even a hair singed on their head.
Well, it didn't smell like smoke.
Didn't smell
How
like
many
smoke.
of us have been around just a little bonfire in our backyard?
Yeah.
And you come home and you're like, your hair, everything smells like
Takes
smoke.
like 10 showers to wash it out.
Exactly. And they were in the fire.
Uh-huh.
And there was no evidence,
Mm-mm.
that they had even been in it. That's miraculous. Miraculous.
It is. And this wasn't just for them. Their stance to respond in faith, in this kind of faith, brought glory to God and protected all the Jews and all the land from being persecuted for their faith in God. It opened the door for God to work in such a mighty way.
Right.
Through 3 men's faith, 3 friends. Going back to that.
Dared to stand for God.
Yeah. Dared to trust God and stand
changed
for
a
him.
whole nation.
And the same thing with us. How our response and our wins in our life can affect so much more than just our family and our friends. People on the outside will see it. And we need to be bold enough to say, God did it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't anything that I did.
Mm-hmm.
If you're being obedient to do what he tells you to do, but you're not the one getting the glory. And when you tell people what God did, it gives them hope. I had a situation the other day at work, and this gentleman was sitting there and he just kind of opened up. He said that his wife was going through cancer. She'd been doing stuff for 2 years and at the hospital all the time. And I just, I always check my heart, whether I'm supposed to share or not. Sometimes, people don't want to hear it. Sometimes you can sense they're more open. And I just shared with him, but it was super simple. I just said, I'm still here. I said, there's hope for your wife. And he grabbed onto it. I said, I didn't have long to live. And so we're supposed to be bold and share with people what God has done. And God will honor that too.
Yeah.
When we honor him and we give him glory, he'll honor us.
Every time.
Every time. So we hope that you were encouraged today, that this will inspire you to be bold in your faith, that this will inspire you to be a good friend and to trust God to bring those kinds of friendships into your life, because that's why God created us. He created us to fellowship with him. He loves people. He loves fellowship, one with each other, encouraging and building up. And we hope that you were encouraged today in this podcast. We love you and we thank you for joining The Winning Response, and we will see you next week.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of The Winning Response with Jen and Crystal. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and rate this podcast. And we encourage you to share with others. If you want more information or want to connect, go to thewinningresponse.com. Thanks for joining us today, and tune in next time on the Winning Response podcast.